All right, welcome back. So you've successfully built your virtual lab, which is awesome. Now it's time for the really fun part, your first mission. We're going to step through the initial phases of a real security assessment, starting with just looking around and going all the way to finding those critical weaknesses. Okay, let's get into it.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to get comfortable in our new training ground. Then we'll jump right into the core phases of gathering intel: footprinting, scanning, and then enumeration. After that, we'll take all the info we found, figure out what it all means, and then we'll debrief. I mean, this is the exact methodical process that the pros use every single day.
Before we even think about launching an attack, it is absolutely crucial that we understand our environment. Your virtual lab, it's so much more than just a tool. It's your personal sandbox, a totally isolated place where you can test things, break things, and really learn, all without any real-world consequences.
In this quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of why we even need a lab in the first place. The real digital world, it's a battlefield. And to figure out how to defend it, you need a safe training area where you can learn how the attackers think and operate without putting any real systems or data at risk.
You know, the whole foundation of our lab is the virtual machine, or VM. The easiest way to think about it is like a computer inside your computer. It's a complete PC, but it's just running as a piece of software. Now, the key word here, the most important word, is isolated. What happens in the VM stays in the VM. And that is what's going to protect your main computer from all the crazy tools and vulnerable software we're about to play with.
For this mission, our lab really has three main characters. First up, our command center is the Kali Linux machine. It is just packed to the gills with all the offensive security tools we could ever need. Our main target, our victim, is Bbox, which is a server that was intentionally built with security holes just for us to find. And we've also got a Windows server in the mix, because that represents a really common corporate target you'd see in the wild.
All right, mission phase 1, footprinting. This is all about reconnaissance. The goal here is simple: gather as much intel about our target as we possibly can, all while staying completely invisible. It is the art of looking without touching. Now, what's really fascinating here is the difference between passive and active work. Passive footprinting is like being a detective, you know? You're just using public records, Google, social media, whatever. It's totally silent. Active footprinting, on the other hand, that's when you start to, let's say, rattle the doorknobs a bit. You're actually sending packets to the target. You get way more technical info, but you also risk tripping an alarm. Now, professionals always start passive, but for our mission today, we're going to jump right into the action. And that brings us to our next step, scanning. So with scanning, we're done observing from a distance. The gloves are off. We are now actively probing our Bbox target to find any open digital doors, which we call ports, that could give us a way into the system. And this is where our next tool comes into play. I want you to think of Nmap, or Network Mapper, as our pair of high-tech digital binoculars. It sends out these little probes to our target, and then, based on the responses it gets back, it builds us a map of what it finds, which computers are online, and what services are listening for connections.
So, how do we actually use it? Well, first, we need the target's coordinates, right? We hop onto the Bbox machine and run the IPA command to get its IP address. Then, back on our Kali machine, we launch Nmap. Now let's break this command down real quick. -pn tells Nmap to just scan the target. Don't worry if it's online first. -ss is for a stealth scan. It's a bit sneakier. And -sv is huge. It asks Nmap to try and figure out the exact version of the software running on any open ports. The results you get back from this, they are pure gold.
You see, Nmap has a whole bunch of ways of knocking on doors. We just use the TCP SYN scan, the -ss, because it's pretty fast and quiet. But you could also do a full connect scan, the -st, which is way louder and much easier for a system to log. There are even these super specialized scans like the XMIS scan for messing with firewalls. Picking the right scan is all about balancing speed, accuracy, and of course, how sneaky you need to be. Okay, so we've got a list of open ports. That's awesome. But just knowing a door is open, well, that's not really enough, is it? In phase 3, enumeration, our mission is to peek inside those open doors and get a super detailed list of who and what is running on the other side. What you've got to understand is that enumeration is a very active process. We're actually connecting to those services we found, and we're asking them questions to pull out specific details. We're hunting for things like usernames, exact software versions, maybe network shares, anything that gives us a clearer picture of what's going on inside and where the weak spots might be.
For this kind of deep dive, we're bringing out the big guns. Say hello to the Metasploit framework. If Nmap was our binoculars, Metasploit is like a digital Swiss Army knife. It's an entire toolkit filled with scanners, exploits, and payloads, all in one convenient place. It is the industry standard for a reason.
So let's see it in action. Let's pretend our Nmap scan found an open SMTP port, which is for email. So we fire up Metasploit, we pick a special module just for SMTP enumeration, and we point it at our bbox's IP address. When we hit run, that module connects to the email service and tries to pull out a list of valid usernames, giving us potential logins for a later attack. It's that simple.
So at this point, we have gathered a ton of information. Open ports, service versions, maybe even some usernames. Now, in our final intelligence phase, we have to connect the dots. It's time to take all this data and figure out where the actual exploitable security flaws are hiding.
And this, right here, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Just because a port is open doesn't automatically mean it's a security risk. A service is only a risk if there's a known vulnerability in the specific version it's running. So, how do we find out? I mean, we could manually search for every single service we found, but there's a much, much better way.
We automate the hunt. We use a dedicated vulnerability scanner. A tool like Nessus takes all that info about the services and versions on our target, and it checks it against a massive, constantly updated database of known vulnerabilities. It does the heavy lifting for us.
Now, when Nessus finds vulnerabilities, it doesn't just throw a giant, messy list at you. It rates each one using what's called the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, or CVSS. Basically, every flaw gets a score from 0 to 10, which is so important for knowing what to fix first. A score of 9 or 10? Yeah, that's a drop everything you're doing and fix this right now kind of problem.
And this is what PayDirt looks like. A real Nessus report will categorize all the findings by how severe they are. So here we can see a critical problem in an old FTP server, a high-risk issue with an old web server, and even a medium-risk mistake where anonymous login is turned on. This is our roadmap. For an attacker, it's a roadmap to exploitation. For a defender, it's a roadmap for what to fix.
And mission accomplished. We've successfully scouted our target, we've identified its weaknesses, and we've gathered all the intel we need for the next phase of the operation. So let's just take a quick moment and recap what we actually did.
We followed a clear, repeatable process. It's like a funnel. We started really broad with scanning to map out the whole target. Then we narrowed our focus with detailed enumeration. And finally, we used automated tools to pinpoint the most critical vulnerabilities. This isn't random hacking. It's a structured, professional methodology.
And that, right there, is why we started in the lab in the first place. You can read about these tools and theories all day long, but absolutely nothing replaces getting your hands on the keyboard. A safe, virtual lab is, without a doubt, the single best way to build real, practical cybersecurity skills. Period.
So, we finished our recon mission, we found the open doors, we peeked inside, and we even found a few with broken locks. The next mission, if you choose to accept it, would be exploitation, actually walking through those doors. But for the defenders out there, the question is a little different. Now that you know where the weaknesses are, what's your next step to secure them?